Thank you for batting cleanup. We show you registered as Philip Martin on behalf of the Environmental Defense Fund and that you're testifying neutrally. Is that correct?
Yes, Chair, it is.
Please proceed. Thank you.
Philip Martin with Environmental Defense Fund. I manage our Zero Emission Truck Initiative. Environmental Defense Fund is a nonprofit. We have about 1,000 employees, 800 in the U.S., 200 internationally. We work on a wide range of subject matter issues, one of those being transportation, how we help provide cleaner air through transportation. In the United States, about 60% of NOx and particulate matter from transportation pollution comes from medium and heavy-duty vehicles. So that's why we stay laser focused on this. You would have to replace 100 regular passenger cars to reach the equivalent NOx reduction of replacing a single Class 8 truck. So when we look at where we can target emissions reductions in transportation, we really focus on these medium and heavy duties. In Texas, over the last 2 years, Texas has made over $100 million available in this clean truck space. These incentive programs are very important at a time of federal uncertainty for some of these industry partners that are trying to invest more in clean trucks, both electric and hydrogen fuel cell. But as this has occurred, Texas has become a quiet but confident leader in this space. And we're very excited about some of those opportunities. To that end, I do want to signal that California has had to roll back some of their regulations that are in place, both out of some lawsuits that are up there and then direction from the federal government. This is potentially opening a window for these businesses that want to come to Texas to deploy more of these vehicles here. We have had meetings, I've had meetings the last 3 years since I've been at EDF, where that's regularly what I hear. We want to put more of these clean trucks, these clean things in Texas, but we have to put them in California right now. Without those targets, with some of those targets changing, there's an opportunity to really step in more, and that's where we're trying to continue to improve the competition and maximize the efficiency of programs like the Texas Emission Reduction Plan is critical. To that end, over the interim, EDF worked with a number of stakeholders that you've heard from today, as well as TCEQ, on how we can, on a report called Turp and Trucks, focusing on maximizing competition and increasing efficiency. There was a number of recommendations that we had in there. A couple of those are realized in legislation that's been filed by members of this committee. Representative Anchia with House Bill 4841, looking at third-party scrappage and how we get some of the dirtiest trucks off the road as quickly as possible. House Bill 4519 by Representative Ardaz that looks at consolidating some of these programs. Over the years, TURP has been around about 24 years. These programs have kind of stacked on each other almost like a Jenga tower a bit. And there's a way to kind of bring them together into a more consolidated space, which is easier for those applying for these funds and also easier for the agency to administer some of these programs to help provide a little bit more certainty in the space. I think that's critical. We're working on other areas outside this committee as well to increase funding and other types of measures there. I'm going to conclude with saying that there are 19,200 plus of these electric trucks, medium heavy-duty trucks operating in Texas today. ERCOT has projected there will be as many as 225,000 of these vehicles by the end of the decade. So the ongoing work that the state can do now to ensure that the funding is there, that our programs and our regulations are there, and it provides certainty for this growing industry will be important. And I look forward to working more and more with this committee on this issue going forward. Only one other note I want to provide. I do not work on methane emissions at EDF. EDF has done a lot of very interesting things in that space. We launched a satellite, actually, to help measure methane emissions from space. And one of the things that we discovered in that work, the organization and the brilliant scientists and everyone who's working on this, is that actually a majority, as much as 70% of methane emissions are coming from some of the smallest producers of methane. So sometimes we think conceptually like, oh, these are the largest companies, they have all this large, that's actually, they're doing very, very, very well, relatively, on how to reduce emissions and ensuring they're not polluting as much. So as you're envisioning that policy, I at least encourage you to look at some of this data. We have very detailed data we can look at, and I'm happy to put you in touch with the folks from our organization that are working on that more directly.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Members, are there any questions?
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate your testimony and look forward to working with you throughout the session. Members, thank you for being here today. This concludes today's agenda, but is there any other business for the committee to consider? If not, and if there is no objection, the Committee on Environmental Regulation will stand adjourned, subject to the call of the chair.